Okay, hey everybody. I think you should be able to see me. It looks like I can see me. Want to make sure that I can hear and see everybody. So thank you for coming to my juggling lesson for 48 Blocks Atlantic City. 48 Blocks brings together some of my favorite things, that being the Atlantic City Arts Foundation, Atlantic City itself, and also Stockton University, which is my alma mater. So shout out to Stockton. I also like to shout out ACCC because that's also my alma mater, and opportunity truly does start there. So, well, if you came to learn how to juggle, thank you, but also hopefully it's entertaining for you. I'll show you a little bit of my juggling now and kind of tell you a bit about me and how I learned how to juggle. I only learned 4 or 5 years ago, and I started out just for fun, and then when I got to Stockton, we created the Stockton Juggling and Circus Arts Clubs, and really from there we started all working on our stuff together. And I've even performed for 48 Blocks before down at Browns Park and at some of the opening night parties that they've had. And believe it or not, I've even been paid to juggle at various venues and for parties. So juggling is not only I find it a very mindful activity to do, and it's good for your brain as well. Actually, juggling has been shown to grow brain matter, help your brain develop and stay healthy. So it's good for everybody to try. Even if you try and you can't get it, don't feel bad, because I do have a couple different options for people that still kind of want to participate. And maybe if you're younger or if you're even older and you don't think that you can throw a ball around, one trick that we have in teaching how to juggle is with plastic bags. So I know that a lot of you keep dozens and dozens of these under your kitchen sink. So take a moment, if you want to have them on hand in case you can't get the balls, you can start with this. And you start by just kind of tossing one in the air and slowly working your way up to 3. But I won't get there just yet. With this, I'm just going to give you a couple options to know what you can do or what you can use to learn how to juggle. If you don't have balls, balled up socks work just as well. So find your, doesn't have to be a matching pair. Toss that back and forth, see how that feels. The most important thing with choosing your objects that you're going to learn how to juggle with is equal weight. So make sure that they're around the same size, around the same weight. I have a set of these that you can get on the internet if you do enjoy this lesson today. Some nice sandbag juggling balls. And then if you are having a lot of fun and you really want to show off, you can get LED juggling balls. So if you get really good, you can get yourself a set of LED juggling balls. Not only is it good for your brain, it's good for your body, but it's really fun at parties. People love to see people juggling. It's a good party trick to have. And I thank you all for being here to learn. And hopefully I hope that you do learn. So as we start the lesson, I always recommend maybe just a little bit of stretching. You want to move your arms out and around, especially if you're like me and you've been working from home a lot and maybe ergonomically not the best situation. You can do some of these with your wrists. Make sure that you're nice and loose, because juggling, if you believe it or not, is kind of a strenuous activity, especially when you're first starting to learn, because you're going to do a lot of dropping. So a lot of dropping means you're going to have a lot of picking up to do. So here's a tip for everybody as well. At home, when you're learning to juggle, good tip is to juggle in front of a bed or a couch. That way you don't have to bend over so much to pick up the ball. If you don't do that, a good tip to save your back is when you have to pick up the ball is to squat and keep your back straight. Because doing this over and over and over again is only going to make the process hurt more along the way. So those are some tips before we start. And we'll start with one ball at a time. So if you want, also I want to mention to everybody on Zoom, if you're on Facebook too, I know this is streaming live on Facebook. If you want to join the lesson so that I can see you and give you some feedback and we can all work on this together, join the Zoom link. And once you're in Zoom, raise your hand and they'll be able to bring you into the lesson and show us just share your video, and I'll be able to give you feedback while you're learning. So when you're juggling, and I'll show you real quick again what 3 balls looks like. And let me turn one ball on, because really when you're juggling, you're doing the same thing over and over again with both hands. If you follow the lighted ball, it's making a figure 8 pattern, right? Like this. It's going from the outside to the middle, up to the corner, down and around, and back up to the other side. This is every motion that you're making when you're learning how to juggle. This is the basis for everything we're going to do with what's called the 3-ball cascade, which is that regular juggling pattern that you all know and love, right? Follow the lighted ball and see that that's the same path that each of the balls is taking. So as long as you can master this and you can do it 3 times in a row, you're going to be able to juggle. Be patient. Let's see, I do like to mention that while you're learning, strong core is very important because it takes a lot of balance and kind of equilibrium to be able to throw a ball where you want it to go and not have to think about where it's going to land. The best thing you can do while you're learning is to focus on these 2 points here on the outside as if that's 2 corners of a box that you're trying to throw the ball into these opposite corners. Throwing into the opposite corners, catching almost like an egg in a basket, scooping around to the middle, bringing it back up and tossing it to the other corner. And this should be as fluid as a motion as you can get it to be. So work on that, and I'm going to drop back down to the plastic bags just to show maybe some of the kids at home. Oops. If we got kids that are working. Oh, hey, Michelle Tomko here. She's here, Michelle Tomko, big comedian. Okay, thank you for joining us, Michelle. So for kids that maybe don't want to start with balls, or like I said, if you're even an elderly person and you want to give it a shot, take the bag and grab it with, or pop it up, grab it with the other hand. If you do this with a plastic bag, go ahead, you on screen, James and Michelle, you can work on your 1 ball, and everyone at home, you can continue working on that 1 ball because we want to get that nice and consistent and accurate. Consistency and accurate is key for that. So for everybody using a plastic bag, same kind of motion, you're bringing it up from one side, crossing over and letting go at the top. Now the best way to use the plastic bag is to kind of grab it by its corner, straighten it out, fluff it out a little bit, and move across the best you can like that. Hey, Paul, thank you for joining us. All right. So as everybody's working on their 1 ball, because I assume that there's a lot of different skill levels maybe on this call today, and I can see the chat. So if you don't want to join the video, but maybe if you have a question, I am going to try to check out the chat while this is happening and be able to help you out there. So when we have 2 balls, and if you want to keep working on 1 ball, this is all at your own pace. I'm going to go over this multiple times. When you have 2 balls, it's the same thing that's happening, right? Remember, left, right, left, right. That second ball comes into play right after the first ball. And it's because you have to make room in your hand to catch the first ball that you throw. So I'm left-handed. Shout out to all my lefties. I usually start with my left, but if you're right, start with your right. And it's going to happen quickly, but the 2 subsequent thoughts in your mind should just be toss, toss. And it looks like this. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. James had it really good there. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Toss, toss, catch, catch. Only thinking about the tosses and focusing on where you're throwing them. This is just like throwing a baseball. This is like any other time that an object is leaving your hand, a dart, a baseball. Anytime you're doing a sport or an activity like that, a focused mind on the spot that you want the ball to go is going to be your biggest benefit. As you're trying this with 2 balls, remember to switch up the hand that you start with. Remember, I said I'm left-hand dominant. If you're right-hand dominant, after a few goes, switch it up. Start with your left. Left, right, right, left. You need it to be just as consistent on both sides. I should have known Michelle would be great. She mentioned that she was a clown. A little bit of a clown. So, a little bit of a juggler. So, how many people are feeling pretty good about their 2 ball? Just nod your head at home and I will sense the vibrations. So continue with that. And for anybody that's getting really good with the 2 ball, I'm going to give you some instruction here for 3 ball. This is where it gets kind of crazy because let me drop back down and show you here. There's a spot where I can put that 3rd ball and it's right here. So that's where ideally that timing happens, is in that empty hand as the 2nd ball leaves. So if you're right hand dominant, stick 2 balls in your right hand because you always start the toss with hand that has 2. And if you need to be technical about it, usually I hold them like this, and the first ball to leave my hand is the one towards the bottom, because then it allows you to roll that next ball into the palm of your hand. So 2 in one hand, your dominant hand ideally, and it is really basic. It all just goes down to the toss, and it's the same toss over and over again. So when I was learning, I would say to myself, right, left, because you need to remind yourself only to throw. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, catch. Now, if you can't do that right away, start up, 2, 3, catch. Just try and get 3 in the air and catch them. James is doing great. Now, you can stick it in your other hand. Also, if you're feeling very, if this is giving you anxiety trying to throw 3 balls, here is something that will blow your mind. Just throw the balls up and let them fall. Because another thing to remember about learning to juggle is that you're going to fail a lot before you learn. So sometimes people have put a lot of pressure on themselves to not fail, and you're not going to progress any in juggling without failing. So if you're a little skittish about tossing that 3rd ball and really getting into it, just let it all go, throw them, and then pick them up and start again. Because sometimes I need to go get the ball, so I'll be right back. Hold on. Woo. So toss them all up and let them go if you need to break through that wall. Both 3 balls. Switch your hands from right to left. Once you get to this point, you want to remember to breathe. Having your breath with you is very important, just like yoga, because maybe if you've gotten to 3 ball, you're going to hold your breath and be like, oh my God, I'm doing it. And then things get all off the rails because you don't have any oxygen going to your brain, so you can't really keep juggling. So remember to breathe, tight core, a nice strong stance, and just think about the toss. Toss, 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 toss. Now, really, when you get to 3, it's so important to think about the toss because you need to not have to think about the catch. You want the toss to be in the exact location of these corners here where it can just fall into your hand. So if you've tried 3 balls and it's a little hectic, or if you're on 1 ball, we're going to drop back down. And I like to think of this as almost like a recalibration for your juggling path. So even if you're on 2 and it's getting a little wacky, just always drop down to 1 and see how consistent and accurate that you can get 1 ball to be, because this is all that you're doing with all 3 balls. Now, if you also want to get a preview of like how really good you can get at juggling, take a look at Paul down there. Paul is a great juggler, and he's showing you now what looks like 5 balls. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul. It looks like he's about to juggle lots of balls for us, and that's just to inspire you to see what's possible once you learn how to juggle. Continue with your lesson if you want. Yeah, Paul is doing some wild stuff. I should point it out. And Earl says that he's dropping the balls, but that means that you're learning. Okay, let's see. I want to make sure I caught up on the chat. We have the Barkoffs from Washington. Those are my best friends out there. She said, everyone looks good juggling. Plastic bags again. So let's go back to that for any of the folks at home that maybe don't have the balls to use or want to have something a little bit easier to start with. With the bags, you can pretty much go right to 3 if you want, but if you need to start with 2, it's the same idea. Up and cross, up and cross. Actually, you have to uncross your arms when you do that, but up and grab. So if you have a fan on, they'll kind of, get a little out of the way, but with this, you also want to start with both hands. Change which hand you start with, whether you're right or left dominant. Sometimes start with your left, sometimes start with your right. Once you get that, and I'll tell you, if you're trying bags, I recommend trying balls because it's almost, the scarves are fun, but it's not the same as juggling. It's a nice trick, and I'll show you how to do it with 3 bags, but it's way more satisfying to try it with balls. Even if you just get 2 down, that's you can feel pretty good about that. So if you're trying with plastic bags, again, grab the corner and straighten it out and kind of put it in the bottom of your palm, and then save some space up here to grab the second plastic bag. You want to be able to separate them so that you can release one at a time. start with the hand that has two, whether it's plastic bags or balls, and then just keep going up and across and releasing. It's the song that never ends. It's toss, 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 toss over and over again until you're done juggling. So up, 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 up. And this is pretty much just as hectic as real juggling because the bags are so random in the air that it takes so much effort to be able to keep them apart. And don't feel bad if you really have trouble with the bags too, because usually if you have a set of juggling scarves, those are really made for juggling. So they float real nice and delicately in the air and you can grab them a little bit easier. But I'll go back to the balls here. And if anyone has any questions, let's see, can you go over where the professionals look when juggling? Do you stare straight ahead and try to see them all, or do you look at each ball? That's a great question. So when you're learning to juggle, this is actually a good tip because when you're learning, you're not watching each ball fall into your hand. Like that would go wrong pretty quickly, I feel like. What you're actually watching for is where the balls are hitting basically the crest of their arc here. You're looking for where they stop their upward momentum and they begin to descend. You don't need to see them land in your hand to juggle, right? Like when you catch a baseball, you don't need to necessarily, if you're pretty good, you don't need to look at it going into your hand. You can kind of use your senses to figure out where it is. So you want your eyes to be at this level here, and that's where you're tossing the balls into these corners. Your eyes watch the tops of the balls. But when you get good at juggling, you can look right through the juggling pattern. And with three ball cascade, which is this, this is so much muscle memory for me that I can talk and look straight at the camera here while I'm doing that. Now, as I start to do some other stuff, it takes a little more concentration on where the balls are. And maybe this is a good break to show you at least where some of my skills are. Sometimes you drop, but even when you drop, you pick it right back up and you start again. Now, please let me know if you have any questions. If you want to come on to the lesson to give me a visual here of how your juggling is going, they can bring you in, just raise your hand. And I'd love to give you some feedback while you're juggling because, we're going for a little bit and I know it can be hard at home, but sometimes it's good to get a tip based on what you're doing visually. Another thing that I did while I was learning to juggle is record myself. Everyone, if you have a smartphone or a laptop or something that you can record yourself with, it's really good to be able to see where you're going wrong, right? If something looks a little out of whack or you're not sure what happened with that toss, record yourself and you can review it. I do that with hula hoops a lot, like learning to play with a hula hoop. We like to see how things look in different planes and how even things are spaced. So big tip is to record yourself. That brings me to another good point with juggling is while you're learning, sometimes things can look a little weird. Like if you can see my plane is really stretched out this way. And that's gonna make for a very uneven pattern when you're working on your juggling, whether it's with 2 balls or 3 balls. You want to straighten that plane out so that they're in a flat line in front of you, if you can imagine. So when you turn this way, they stay in that flat plane. What happens when they get out of whack and you have one go too far forward or too far back, it forces you to have to compensate by either moving forward or moving back, and that makes your second toss much harder. So getting them to be consistently in one plane, and again, should look flat from the side instead of wonky like this, because if you throw, you have to lean forward to get the ball. Now, if that starts to happen to you and you can't seem to keep 2 balls consistently nicely in the air, or even with your 3 ball, you can't seem to figure out while you're running away with the balls, it's because maybe you're throwing it too far ahead of you. So this is where critical thinking comes in with juggling, because if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, does anyone know at home what that's called when you expect a different result from doing the same thing over and over again? It's called insanity. So don't be insane while learning to juggle. Figure out what's going wrong. If you don't throw the next ball, obviously you can see that that's an issue. But think critically about, oh, did I throw that ball too far? Did I throw this ball too late? What went wrong every time you dropped the ball? Think about it critically and think, what can you do next time to prevent that from happening? And sometimes, well, a lot of times when you're learning, people will run forward with the balls because it's an instinct not to throw them too close to your face. Now, if you're just learning how to juggle, you're getting used to this space right in front of you. Because normally when you're tossing things, it's to a friend across a room. It's never, at least for most people, it's never right in front of them. So when you're tossing it too far, just think consciously about throwing it slightly closer to your face. And, you know, if you get into anything else, Jean's a great juggler. Here's another juggler that's on the screen for us. Jean, everybody. She is great. And James, I think you're doing really well too. And I mean, Paul's already, I love to bring Paul on because he's a fabulous example of how far you can excel in juggling. And he's been juggling, I think, for less time than I have even. He's quickly surpassed my abilities. I have to admit, I plateaued at a certain point with juggling. Well, other responsibilities took over my life, but I'll go back. Let's see, the sound is bringing, let's see, desktop, blah, blah, blah. I think we're caught up on the chat here. I'll go back. Yeah, we had some people on Facebook that knew what was the definition of insanity. I think that's Lexi. Yeah, so I'll go back to one ball. So we're about halfway done the lesson. If anybody wants to come on the Zoom and get some feedback on their juggling, please raise your hand in the Zoom. Join the Zoom link. I sent that on Facebook. And you can join us and turn your video on, raise your hand, they'll bring you in. But I'll drop back to one ball. Again, this is my recalibration. If you're ever having trouble with 2 balls, 3 balls, 4 balls, go back to 1. Make it simple. Get this really good. Pick 2 balls back up. And it's just toss, toss, catch, catch. Get this consistent and accurate. Now, a funny thing here is 4 balls, for anyone that feels very comfortable with 3 balls, Jean, maybe try 2 balls in 1 hand. Now, you can do this in the pattern they call, I think this is Cascade Pattern, I think, Paul can correct me if I'm wrong, but then you can also do it in columns like this. So this is kind of the next step of your training. If you feel comfortable with your 3 ball, start throwing 2 balls in 1 hand. Or if you get comfortable with regular 3 ball, if anyone's on the line here who has a really good 3 ball cascade here, try and toss 1 over the top of the pattern. Now this is the pattern here that's happening for me. Yeah, James is great. He just basically did it, but if he kept juggling, you would. And just keep juggling and keep juggling. Yes, yay, James, yeah. Good job. See, now you can toss 1 over the top and just keep juggling, or you can keep tossing 1 over the top. And you can do it from the other side. Now, there's a whole world of juggling and naming and nomenclature that describes different tricks that people are doing. So how high you're throwing it, how many balls you have in your hand, all determines what the trick is called. And I have been out of the juggling world so long that I forget a lot of these names. But here's some of the things you can work on if you're really good at 3 ball. You can try doing this pattern right here. That's just tossing them up through the middle and on the outsides. If you're good at 3 ball cascades, start throwing the balls into the middle. It's kind of, if you think about it, like juggling is almost like reverse double dutch. This motion of like coming from the outside into the middle. Reverse cascade is the reverse of that. So you're catching from the middle and throw it, or I'm sorry, yeah, you're catching from the middle and throwing from the outside, but you're throwing to the middle. So take the ball out to the side and toss it into the middle. And that feels really weird, but to me it feels like double dutch. So that's reverse cascade. And then there's a lot you can do from there. James is doing really well. If anyone else wants to come on, just raise your hand, they'll bring you in. Let's see. Paul's doing great. Let's see Michelle, how she's doing. 2 in 1 hand. Great job. That's great. Oh, excellent. Okay, now, see, I brought up 2 in 1 hand because once you can get 2 in 1 hand on each hand, believe it or not, 4 balls, when you're juggling 4 balls, they never cross. 2 balls stay in each hand the whole time. So I'll show you a little bit of 4 ball that I've been working on. And if you look, the balls, like I said, don't cross from hand to hand. They stay on either side. So 4 balls looking pretty good. If you're really great at 3 ball and you've even tried some more patterns, just add a ball. Like juggling is it's infinite, it's limitless. People are juggling. How many balls is the record, Paul? 17. I think there's a whole world to this. If you like this and you like circus, or even a lot of people who like math love juggling, there's a whole world to fall in love with and to get involved with. And really, it's a good time for now, because sometimes, in quarantine, or you need something to do to keep your mind busy and your body active. And juggling, at least for me, is that, because it's physical. If you've been juggling with us this whole time, it's only been about a half an hour, but I bet you're sweating, because it's a lot of work to learn how to juggle. I'll do a little bit of 4 ball again, but this is about the limit of my abilities here. This 4 ball that I've been working on for a little bit. So that's something to look forward to anybody that is enjoying what they're learning today. It only gets better. This is the hardest thing that you're going to learn with juggling, is just the initial thing. And it's going to eventually click for you, because once you're into this pattern and your tosses can be consistent and accurate, it's a fluid motion. It's like this magic trick that you're keeping in the air right in front of you. And as soon as you stop, it's gone. So wait for it to click. If you keep struggling, it took me a couple days to learn, like I spent a couple weeks, and a couple times a week I would sit after work or after school, and I would just go at it for 20 minutes, a half an hour. Now, I also recommend some good music to put behind your practice, because with anything, like I also like to roller skate, any type of rhythmic physical activity, I feel like goes really well with a good soundtrack. So put on some of your favorite groovy tunes and just feel it a little bit. It's all in the feeling, and it's all in understanding what you're doing. And I think what we went over today, if you were here for the whole lesson, it gives you a really good understanding of what's happening with juggling, how it happens, and what you have to do to make it work with 3 balls. So again, drop back down to 1, toss it around. If you're working with socks, I'll sympathize with you a little bit. Take the socks. Now these are a little bit, I'd say, harder, because they're so much lighter. So you got to be almost delicate with them, because they can easily bounce right out of your hand if it's coming down too hard. The catch can be a little more difficult than balls, but if you want to use potatoes out in your yard, you could do that too. I think we have someone joining. Hopefully I can give some feedback. Easier with socks. Oh, I see. Great. Yay, I can't wait. And if you see me around, definitely show me your juggling skills, as Evan said his daughter had some good luck. So hopefully they keep at it. It's a good, I'm the only one in my family that learned how to juggle. So, well, my brother can juggle, but once you graduate from balls, if you're interested, we got a juggler. Let's see, I'll tell you in a minute what you can do. Hi, Natasha. Oh my gosh, thank you for joining us. Let's see how you're doing.
All right, let's see. I'm not that good, but
pretty good.
All right, so I think it's up, 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 up.
Start with the hand that has 2 in it. That was key.
Oh, okay, right.
So are you right or left-handed?
I'm right-handed.
So put 2 in your right hand.
Okay.
Now, let go of the one here first, and then just left, right, left, right, left. And that's how you're going to let go in that order.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Remember, take a nice breath, core, strong core.
Okay.
Let it
rip. I'm going to try.
Yeah, no, that you have, and it's, I can see you're using socks, right? Are you using socks?
Yeah, I'm using socks with rice in them.
Oh, that's even better if you can weight a sock. See, that's good. That was
I have a friend that knows how to juggle.
Yay!
I've been told I juggle like the wrong way.
Okay, so this is a good point. A lot of times people will fall into the wrong habit here. So let's see what happens when you juggle. All
right, so this is how I juggle. So.
Oh my God, but you can do a really hard trick. So for anybody that's watching, the difference in, what's your name?
Sean.
Sean, the difference in what Sean, hey, okay, so the difference in what Sean's doing is he's throwing the balls in a circle, which is a much harder trick, believe it or not, when you're learning, because you have to keep tossing them up and across. So to fix that, what I call the bad thing is when you toss like this instead of tossing up. Every ball has to go up and across. This is the bad thing. If you started doing this when you were doing 2 balls, I'm glad you came on, Sean, because this is sometimes a pitfall for people and they can't get past it, is they do this. They said, okay, I got 2 balls down, I can juggle 2 balls. But in reality, that only leads to being able to, you have to continue it by doing this instead of across. If you see when I go across, I showed everyone where this the 3rd ball can go is in this empty hand for a moment. When I go across, that time doesn't exist. There's no spot for that ball. So to break the bad habit, toss both balls up. Start with that. Can you? Yeah, really. Make it as consistent and clean as you can and work from there, because once you have left, right, right, left, you have it going both ways really good. Just grab the 3rd ball and every ball has to go up. So you probably might be able to do this now. Just it does take a little bit of breaking a habit to be.
I know, right? I just automatically want to go to the other spot.
That was really good, though, the way that you jumped. Yeah, yes.
I'm going to try. I'm going to keep at it. Here, come back.
I don't know.
That's great.
He's better than me. Okay, here we go. You got to start with the right hand.
Start with 2 in your dominant hand. Toss up and nice.
Whoa.
Yes.
It is hard. It's not easy.
You had great timing. Everything was great about it. It was just remember to breathe and just let it happen. Once you're rolling, you have to roll with it, basically.
Yeah.
It happened very quickly in front of you, and it's kind of surprising if you're at home and you're learning. Once you get 3 moving in front of you, it's kind of amazing, and it happens very quickly right in front of your eyes, and sometimes it's a little startling. So you might end up freaking yourself out, but then just run with it. Keep going. Breathe.
Yeah.
And left, right. Just let it roll. Earl, my friend, says he knows Sean. Small world.
Earl? Sean, do you know Earl?
Earl Pierce.
You know.
He says small world. He's from AC too.
Oh, the pearl. Yo.
That's great.
Hey, Sean.
Yo. I can't see your face.
I'm hiding myself. I'm dropping the balls.
Oh my gosh.
What's up, dude? You all right?
I'm doing great.
Yo, man, get it together, man.
We will. I promise.
So if you look too, I don't actually have Paul was doing, I was going to mention that if you enjoy juggling balls and you want to see what's next is juggling clubs. So that's actually the bowling pin looking object, the prop that people use, and they spin while you're juggling them. So it's very much the same principle, same pattern, but you have to put a spin into it as you're going. And that's a really fun way to juggle too. And with that, especially, you can get into pass juggling, which is when 2 people stand opposite each other and they juggle juggling clubs and they can pass it to each other across the room. So that's when it becomes very fun and very interactive and very social, because there are many different patterns you can do juggling with other people. We have about 5 more minutes in the lesson. So if you're on the Zoom or even if you're on the Facebook, I can see some questions, give me some questions, or come on the Zoom if you want to join the juggling lesson, get a real quick piece of feedback on your juggling. The link is in the Facebook post. And if you're in Zoom, just raise your hand and they'll bring you in. So again, Paul and his amazing juggling down there, that just gives you kind of a teaser of what you can do. I'll go through a little bit more. Let's see, I'll juggle with Paul a little bit, show you some more of what I've learned over the last couple of years. If you toss around like this and cross your arms, this is what they call the windmill pattern. So you can
Juggling is so
go back and forth with it. This is something they call Mills Mess. And that's just basically being able to do the windmill on both sides and go back and forth with it.
That's really cool.
There's some fun stuff. If you can get 2 in one hand, you can kind of play with things like this. Fake stuff.
Whoa.
If your juggling is making you crazy, you can go around your head like that. A lot of cool stuff you can do with even just 3 balls. There's like so many different patterns. Look it up on YouTube. If you're on Instagram, just start following the juggling hashtag, honestly, like to see some of what these people can do. I'm hardly a professional. I'm still very much an amateur. I have been paid to juggle. So if you get really good, know that someone will pay you to do this at a party or at a concert or, and it's still, even then, it's just, even without that, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to share it with people. So I'm glad that everyone that showed up today, I hope you had fun. I hope maybe you learned a little bit, and I hope you keep learning how to juggle. Again, come on in. We have a couple more minutes. Anybody that's James got really good at, you already basically were there, James, and then you've worked on a couple new patterns already. Let's see your one over the top here. And can you keep going over the top? Yeah, continuously. Put James on the spot. Natasha, you're doing great too.
Yeah, I'm trying. It looks
You got it. You got it.
Yeah.
Did you just start learning today?
Yeah.
And don't anyone, yeah, because that's great.
Using the plastic bags. I've tried that like a long time ago, and that's because it takes a longer time for it to come down. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
I can grab it, but this is like the gravity.
It's good if you need to understand what's happening in the air. Like if you for some reason just can't understand that they're crossing and where they're going, it gives you an idea of where that pattern happens and kind of how the flow happens.
Yeah.
It's good for kids too, but really, you'll be juggling very soon if you keep at it.
I love it. I like the mind, following it around. It's a practice for the mind. So you said earlier,
very mindful activity. Mindfulness is a really big thing, especially, like we've been all in isolation, and sometimes even now going back into social situations can be a little overwhelming for me personally. Right. I was socially overwhelmed the last weekend, which was a bizarre feeling, but to be able to bring yourself back to a center, to be able to kind of keep some intrusive thoughts at bay, even just for a little bit, is learning to juggle, especially like once you're, I can fret and worry while I'm doing this, but specifically while you're learning is like this special kind of safe place where if you really put 100% of your focus into it, you can let go of some of the things that bother you on a normal basis for just a little bit. So
I like it. I'm definitely going to pick this activity up.
I'm so glad. Where do you live in Atlantic City?
Yes, I do live in Atlantic City. Artists in the area. I'm going to have a segment tomorrow at 5, and then with Stories of Atlantic City at 5:30. So
give a little promo here while everybody's paying attention. I'm taking a note here. Go tell us about what your segment is.
Oh, okay. So it's basically just a time lapse of photography, art portraits that I have created using 3 African Americans that were, if you come and check it out, it's just a time lapse art video of me working on some portraits. So, the subject matter is of course very important because it's dealing with what is going on in the world right now. So, with some social justice and civil rights issues. But I really show just a time lapse of me creating 3 portraits using Adobe Photoshop. And it's
neat.
Yeah, so it's,
And that's at 5 tomorrow, right?
Yeah, that's at 5 tomorrow. So if anybody wants to stop in and check it out, I'll be there.
Cool. So I just see that we're right on time here to end. I'll just give like a big thank you to everyone who showed up for the lesson. Like, I think that's really cool that you wanted to tune in, whether you knew me, whether you knew 48 Blocks, Stockton, however you found out about this. Thank you for tuning in. Don't get discouraged. You can find me. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, I'm Tina Marine. On Instagram, I'm Tina Notaro. So if you need tips or anything, you can reach out because I love being able to share this with people. And that's it. Thank you to the Atlantic City Arts Foundation. Thank you to Stockton. Thank you to all the participants that came on. You all were so awesome. And enjoy the rest of 48 Blocks. Tune in the rest of tonight and tomorrow, and definitely tomorrow at 5 to check out Natasha's stuff.
Thank you so much. A lot of fun.
Oh, yeah, and Michelle Tomko tomorrow live at 7:30. Don't forget.
All right. Bye,
Bye-bye, everybody.
Yeah.